Africans, I would want you to listen to this little angel.
These contribute Africa's ongoing poverty. But I want to tell you today that Africa has the resources, the ability, and the people to grow into an economic superpower. It is the richest continent already in terms of natural resources. 30% of the world's cobalt, diamonds, gold, and iron are in Africa. Africa also has huge wealth in oil. Nigeria produces more than 2.5 million barrels of oil per day. On the global market, one barrel is worth around $52. You can do the maths, but you get the idea. Nigeria's oil is worth a lot. Africa already has a booming pharmaceutical industry, and huge progress is being made in fighting back against disease and infections in African countries. More and more African children are going back into school and are being provided with education and improving hygiene practices, which help with stopping the spread of disease. Africa is ideally located for global dominance in trade, with close trading connections to Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. The east coast of Africa has access to the Indian Ocean, which, with the ongoing rise of the Chinese and Indian economies, could become the new centre of global trade. And unlike many countries in the West, including Britain, Africa is not saddled with debt. The British debt is 87% of the British GDP, while the African debt is only 9% of their GDP. All but 2 countries in Africa could pay off their debt within 1 year. So the potential is already there, and the growth is already beginning. Even now, Africa is the continent in the world with the fastest economic growth. The GDP per capita of sub-Saharan Africa is expected to rise by 800% from 2020 to 2050. Anyone who doubts Africa can make quick economic progress like this should look at the economic history of the US. In 1977, the US economy was the same size as the African economy is today. And since then, the American economy has grown by a massive $18.419 trillion. And with Africa having more natural resources than the US, its progress in the next 40 years could be even more spectacular. So if you're someone here today who thinks that Africa will never catch up with the rest of the world, I want to say that you will be proved wrong. With its mammoth population, massive potential, and amazing stores of resources, within your lifetime, Africa will become an economic superpower. Thank you.
That our leaders have failed us woefully, there is no doubt about that. There is no doubt that there's a lot of things our leaders should have done for her citizens that she hasn't done. There is no doubt. Because if only Africans, we keep saying this, I think we've heard this enough. If only Africans have leaders that are selfless, leaders that are not greedy to the extent of that they are the greed. Leaders that are not greedy to the level that it is now. There's a lot of things that would have changed in Africa. Leaders that are not selfish, because most of the times the deals they accept, most of our various leaders in our countries, most of the time the deals they accept are deals that do not really consider the African people. They only think about what they can siphon into their pockets. And that is why we are presently in the predicament that we are in as African nations in Africa today. Now, let's divert a little bit and ask ourselves this one question. Like I said, there is no doubt that our leaders have failed. Now, the question is, do we sincerely, as Africans living in Africa or in the diaspora, do we sincerely love our fellow Africans as one person? This is a question that we all should sit and think, right? If we sit and think and ask ourselves this question deep within and give ourselves a genuine answer, then I think we can pick it up from there. Do we sincerely, genuinely love one another as Africans, wherever you are, wherever you find yourself? Whether outside the continent or within the continent, in any part of the countries in Africa, do we sincerely love ourselves? This is a question that most of the times we shy away from. Because if there is genuine love, if there is brotherly love, if there is sincere love, then the issue of our leaders have failed will not be there. Because these leaders are picked from amongst us, right? They do not just fly from somewhere and then get on the seat. They did not fly from heaven and then sit on the throne. They came from among us. Now, the product of our leaders, whatever our leaders are, shows how we are as a nation and as a continent. If our leaders are greedy and selfish, that shows that we also have that iota of greed and selfishness among us. That is why we could produce leaders that are wicked, leaders that are greedy, leaders that are selfish. If today all African countries, all African families accept to inculcate the right morals, and that is why I say the family is very, very much involved when we're talking about a better continent, a better Africa. The family is involved because the family is always the foundation of every human being. And then the human person, the heart. Now, this is all interwoven because what you are is sometimes the picture of the kind of family you're coming from. Now I know there are lots of parents that are trying their best to inculcate good morals. They are trying their best to train their children in a way that is respectful, in a way that they can be good citizens of each country in Africa. I know there are lots of parents that are trying. And then there are some children that on their own are deliberately refusing to be good citizens, but they will want to be what they want to be. That is another story for another day. Now, if every African family would take it upon his or herself to take care of their children in a way that they will grow to be good citizens. Now, when we talk about giving attention to your children, this is where we talk about finding time for your family. Finding time for your family. Now, how do you take care of your home? Do you think your children are old enough to go hustle for themselves when they are really not up to the age of making money for themselves? Sometimes our children come back with some things that we do not give to them, and we do not care to ask them, how did you get this? Who is the owner of this? I didn't remember giving this to you before you went to school. How come you are home with something like this? Some of us don't even care to check what our children carry around. We don't care to check the kind of friends they mingle with, the kind of clique they are beginning to create. Now, this all boils down to the society because we in turn get to suffer it at the long run. And that is why we are suffering today. This is the reason why we have these kinds of leaders that we have on the throne. And it's just a picture of what the typical African is. Maybe you can correct me at the section if it's not. Like I said, every individual has his or her own mindset, but the family plays a major role in bringing up the kind of person he or she will be in the future. We dupe each other in the name of religion. This same religion that was brought to us, right, is the same religion that we use in destroying ourselves right home, right in our houses, in our homes, in our continents. We use the name of God to cheat people as pastors, as prophets, as priests. This is what we do to people. And all this happened here. And a lot of times we don't see anything wrong with it. If not, how will a man of God who is heading multitude of persons have cars that are bulletproof? In short, not even a man. How would men of God, those who claim they perform miracles, they heal people, they raise the dead, have cars that are bulletproof? And these cars that are, is only for them. Then their security men behind them, their cars are not bulletproof. And at the long run, this man died protecting this so-called man. And then he came out and sat down and said, it is the God that he served that protects him. When it is the car that has bulletproof. Can you imagine how far we have gone? We do not value the life of our brothers and sisters, and it is showing in our society. Because if you value the life of your fellow brother, you should know that your life is as important. Since your life is important, your fellow human, their life is also as important as you are. So if you have a bulletproof car, your security men should also have bulletproof cars so that their lives can also be protected. Because these same people have families. They have children, they have wives at home that would be left widows and orphans after this particular person is gone. But no, we only think about ourselves. We only think about ourselves, and again, we don't see anything wrong with it. Right? We don't see anything wrong with it. This is the society we are living in. This is Africa. So with this kind of mind we have, with this kind of mindset, tell me, how do you think our leaders will be any different? They would not be. And that is why I keep saying we have a lot of work to do, right from the family level. That little goodness you do, that little goodness you teach your children will go a long way to change the society tomorrow. And that is when the greatness that we seek will come to reality. Even if it doesn't happen in your time, at least be sure that it will happen in the time of your children or those you will leave behind. And I think we should sit down, look within ourselves, ask ourselves these questions. Where are we heading to as a nation? Yes, our leaders are the problem, but these leaders were picked from amongst us. That shows that we ourselves as a continent, as Africans, we also have something to work on in our various homes. And the continent will be better. I kid you not, things will work for good if we have this mindset of genuine love, brotherly love, and the rest of them, sincerity. I tell you, Africa will be the greatest. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments and your thoughts there at the section. What do you think about this whole video? Leave your comment and thought there at the section, and I will see you in my next one. Until then, love yourself, love others, stay safe, stay positive. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button so that the family keeps growing. Thank you so much for doing that.